think math. There you go.
So again, we're going on the theme, and it's a very different theme between the East and the West. The West assumes that we are born corrupt and that we have to be saved from our inherent sin. All of our psychology is oriented towards the fact that we have disorders and that we have character defects, and we go into recovery and we're supposed to root out our character defects. The East has a different approach. They approach us as if our essential nature is peace, it is love, it is joy. Not only that that's our essential nature, that it's the essential nature of the universe. That the very energy that we're created out of has that those qualities and those characteristics. So their approach is to uncover that goodness, whatever it is that is the spiritual aspect and the truth and fundamental aspect of our character. And this is from Hafiz. He says, sometimes I forget that I was created for joy. My mind's too busy. My heart's too heavy for me to remember that I've been called to dance the sacred dance of life. Yeah, I don't think that was on my to-do list yesterday. Dance the sacred dance of life. I want that to-do list. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift others up. Whew, what an order. Oh, sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. And we're going to come back to that line. Untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance, and that our dancing might be contagious. Might be contagious.
That was my cry moment at yoga teacher training. The teacher said, if you don't dance your dance, who will?
Will.
If you don't dance your dance, who will?
So, oh, great. I've got the wrong reading.
Do you need me to go inside?
Yeah.
Where
Go
is it?
inside. It's the series on compassion and pain.
Okay.
But it's not this one. Take that one for reference. I don't know how I did that. All right. So let's look at a different model of how we evolve. When we started out and when you came into the world, you had no thoughts. You were pure consciousness. You were pure awareness, being filtered through whatever brain you landed in, whatever brain started becoming aware of itself. As we begin to explore the world as a child, we begin to run into the expectations of our parents. Now we have to understand, and very few of us can, the absolute terror, disconnection from our parents that we experience as children. It's the fundamental fear that's at the core of everything that you're doing without your being aware of it. And the reason you're not aware of it is because your entire ego structure is designed for preventing you from ever experiencing that emotion. Anytime you even get close to that terror, you begin to shut down in some way. You either constrict. I work with a person this week that all the constriction was in her throat. And in bioenergetics, they say that the energy coming up, you swallow it. So one of the places that trauma gets stored is right here in these sternocleidomastoids. It also gets trapped in this chakra, is trapped in the throat. We literally lose our voices because of constricting that energy. The other thing that we'll do is we'll begin to distract ourselves. So instead of paying attention to what's happening inside of us and operating from the signals that we're getting from the wisdom body, we begin to externalize and we begin to take on the attitudes that our parents have towards us. Now, the way that happens is very subtle. And that is, here I am, I'm trying to get mom's attention. And this is how self-hate starts, very innocent. First of all, let me say, I'm not blaming anybody. I don't believe in blame. I don't believe in causality. I believe that there are multiple factors that affect any moment and can't be broken down. But you're sitting there and you've just gotten excited by a picture that you've drawn. So imagine you've seen 2 years old, 3 years old, and that impatience of, here, Mom, look at this, look at this. And Mom goes, not now. Can't you see I'm busy? Mom's cooking dinner. She's feeling pressure. Dad's going to be home. What happens to that kid? Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm worthy, I'm worthy. I deserve attention. And what's the response that life gives back to me? No, you don't. Okay. And if you want to see that, one of my favorite stories, a guy talking about his dog, he says, I love going out in the woods, and sometimes he'll forget that he's domesticated. He'll get a squirrel or a rabbit or something, and he'll take off and chase it, and his ears perk up and his eyes brighten, his body gets tense, and he takes off and he's just running after that rabbit. And you can see that he's feeling what it was like before he was domesticated, when he used to run with wolves. And that's when I go, bad dog, get back here. Bam. You can feel that collapse, and that collapse is in each and every one of us. It's deeply embedded in our tissues. So I'm getting response from the universe is telling me that I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So we begin a mind shift. And instead of saying I'm important and what's experienced in me is important, it starts to be I am a problem. So this is a reading taken from a book called Soul Without Shame, which is one of two that I hand out. And I'm bringing that up because we're going to offer a course, an online discussion group, book discussion group on Sunday evenings in a while. And it's going to be based on Byron Brown's book, Soul Without Shame. The other one is a book called There's Nothing Wrong with You by Sherry Huber, who is another Buddhist teacher. But so here I am, I'm experiencing this rejection. I go, something's wrong. Pain tells me something's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with who? With what? What's wrong? We blame ourselves for our failures to connect with our parents, okay? That's the only hope we had, and you need to hear this. If I'm the problem, there's no hope. I don't even know what the problem is, right? How can I fix it? I'm already broken. Everyone tells me I'm broken. I have to be the problem. My parents have to be the one. They know what's right, and they're going to tell me what's wrong with me. At that point, you become hypnotizable, is the phrase we use. You go into a trance state. Think about how you feel when someone disapproving says something to you, or a particular turn of voice or look. How do you feel? What happens to your energy? Can you imagine that? Can you feel that collapse like that? Okay. So we begin to collapse our energy, and we begin to divide ourselves into two parts. And most of the time we've done this by the time we're 7. How many of you can relate to having a part of yourself that you feel comfortable letting the world see? That's your persona. That's your public self. You see these parts, I'm good with that. Those are the parts that the world has affirmed for you. Now we tend to think that those are positive things, but not necessarily. If you didn't get attention for positive things, you started attention for negative things. So you'll find that some kids like me got attention for being sickly. I could make straight A's, got no attention, but get sick. All of a sudden I got attention. Or I get attention for acting out. So Alfred Adler said, if we aren't loved for who we are, we become attention junkies. That's our primary addiction, is to getting attention. First, I'll go for positive attention. If I don't get positive attention, kids' attitude, or the way our nervous systems are constructed, is I'd rather have negative attention than no attention at all. So we have people who, one, build up the people pleaser personality. I'm trying to show the world my good stuff. And then we have people who are the rebels. They are the people who go out and Get attention for being sickly, or the victim stance. Pay attention to me because my life isn't going well. Change the rules for me. Um, and so I dominate in that way from a one down position, not by embodying what you want, but by failing to and then engaging you because you have all these things that I could use. So naturally, I expect you to give them to me. Now, here's the game. We talked last week about out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing. There's a field, I will meet you there. All right. The minute you take on a public persona here, you drive your exact opposite into the shadow. You follow that?
Say that again.
The minute that you say, this is who I am, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, everything that isn't included in that statement is hidden in your private self that you don't show the world. Okay, how does that work? People pleasers, how many of you are comfortable with asking for what you need? How many of you are comfortable showing your pain to other people, being vulnerable with other people? No, because I don't want to admit that I have that. Now, victims do that automatically. Oh, look at me, oh, I'm this today, and I'm this today, and I'm this today. What are they hiding? Their assets and their strengths. They're not going to show you what you can do. Okay? So part of this whole thing is to recover all the stuff that we're hiding, to realize that you are at war with half of yourself. And that's where the pressure comes from. The pressure comes from all the unacknowledged parts of yourself that your ego doesn't want the world to see. And that's what shame is. So today we're going to talk about shame. We're talking about all those energies that constrict that expansiveness that is our original nature. And shame is one of the most powerful. What is it that your parents said to you? Shame on you. Shame on you. Not only that, down here in the South, we live in a totally shame-based culture. Don't ever do anything that if I hear you've done something out there and you embarrass this family, you are in so much trouble, okay? We don't share our dirty laundry with other people. And so we have a whole collusion and a whole social system designed to be inauthentic. So I want you to understand the forces that shaped you, because none of this is conscious. None of this is conscious. It happens before you're even capable of making a choice. So thank you, Linnell, for going and getting this. Here's how Byron Brown puts it. In your adult life, your judge is constantly distracting you with worries about what's wrong with other people, what's wrong with the situation, what's wrong with me, or about warnings about what to do, what not to do, what to avoid, what won't work, or with reminders of past failures, and losses, and disappointments. The judge succeeds at doing this by turning you into a child who was rightfully worried by these things and believed that your own weakness was the source of your problems. However, the very effort of tending to these concerns that are brought up by the judge seems to cause some deeper loss, the loss of who you are in the moment before you turned into the child. So let's go back to the dog. The dog is out there. That's the natural sense. Then someone goes, shame on you. Boom. Who are you in that moment? You're not your adult. You go back to either being the wounded child who's sad, scared, hopeless, helpless, no hope in the world. That's the dorsal part of your brain. And you can go from ventral to dorsal in a heartbeat, okay? All you have to do is spill coffee on your blouse as you're walking out the door and say, oh, I'm such a fucking idiot. God damn it, I can't believe I did it. Blah, 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 blah. The self-hate rolling in. That's your little kid, okay? When you sit there and someone says something and you go into your garden, you flare up and you react, that's another part of you, the guardian part of you. The people pleaser getting engaged. Those are all your inner children. Those are not your adult self. That's a trance state that's leaving out all the adult competency that you have. It leaves out all the spiritual aspects of your place. of your personality and reduces you to that frightened child. You're getting the gist? When the judge tears you away from contact with yourself in the moment, okay, what are we doing in meditation? We're getting back in touch with ourselves in the moment. When you're tranced out, when you go into these states, you're in the past. You're not even in the present moment. You're recycling the traumas of your childhood. It says you're unconsciously reliving the original woundings of your soul, the wound of self-betrayal. Did I just say you're in control of this and that it's self-betrayal? Yeah, I said that. It's not what other people are doing to you. It's the fact that you're still unconsciously buying into the fact that this is real, that this collapse of energy, this total restriction of my perception of the world is about them, and it's not. It's about what I did when I was a kid to save myself. Many times in your childhood, when you were faced with the choice of whether to stay with your own experience, what you thought was real or true, or turn your attention, adopt the one presented to you by your parents and family. To reject the latter would have threatened you with rejection, isolation, abandonment, and possibly even death through failure to thrive syndrome. So inevitably, you chose to accept and operate within the consensus reality of your family environment, seeing the world and other people and yourself the way your outside influences married these images. You didn't think the world presented to you as one version of reality. You thought that it was the truth with a capital T, and it's so firmly embedded in your nervous system that you don't dare to challenge it. How did this happen? You began to see yourself as cute, if that's what your parents kept describing you as, or smart, or bad, or slow. Maybe you felt curious, but your parents called you nosy, or you felt energetic, but you were called restless, or you felt bright, but were called too smart for your own britches. Sometimes you may have even felt like a shining star, or a warm cloud, or a solid rock, but you were always treated as a small human child. Eventually, you stopped recognizing the truth of your own experience and lived more and more out of this adopted reality. The unavoidable self-betrayal was complete. Self-betrayal is another term for self-rejection, which is the result of distancing yourself from your own feelings as a child. At that time, distance was needed for you to survive and later avoid parental attacks that couldn't be stopped. But now you're seeing that by engaging the judge, you are actively turning away from your present reality and replicating this self-betrayal. Responding to the judge on its own term, listen to this, by discussing, negotiating, placating, arguing, counterattacking, still identifies you with the past, with the self-image of a deficient child. Every time you look where the judge is directing your attention, you will find some worry, some problem, some lack that you believe is so important, if not crucial, for dealing with your present situation. But so often these concerns are only important in relation to the standards the judge created long ago. You are deceived into believing the judge knows what's really going on now. It knows all your weaknesses and failures. And meanwhile, by listening and reacting to it, you take on the deficient child self-image and lose touch with something more real inside of you. This is the essence of the journey we're on. The journey that we're on is undoing that conditioning. And my clients get very upset with me when I say, you know, you sitting there trying to prove that your husband is a bad person is actually a form of self-hate. And if you follow it, while I'm engaged in deciding who's wrong, are you wrong or am I wrong, you're still in a place where you're alienated from yourself and from the fact that you're joy right now. I'm choosing to keep myself buried in conflict, buried in duality, instead of stepping outside and realizing that my peace today, my joy today, my being loving today has absolutely nothing to do with the outside world. It's the tar baby that we get trapped into fighting all the time. And the solution is so simple. Disengage from all the arguments in your head, all the placating, all the trying to prove your reality. Step outside, take a sigh, land in your peace, and then come back to the reality of what's going on. Okay, so we'll come back and discuss this later. So the main thing is the definition of a trance state is a trance state adds information that isn't there. It subtracts information that is there. The thing that is constantly being subtracted in your life is that you are peace, you are joy, you are love that wants to express itself in the world. What you're adding is that you have to deal with what's in front of you to get there. Think about all the to-do lists that you've got. Why are you doing them? Why is there so much pressure? Why is there so much urgency? What's going to happen if you don't do them? Well, your head never tells you that. But the pressure is the pressure of a child. If I don't please my parent, they're going to throw me in the trash and I'm going to die. Okay. It's the biggest fear is that fear of abandonment. We need the tribe to survive. As adults, we don't. So let's go into our meditation today and begin to look at this process. Beginning to settle into the breath. Letting your awareness come to the breath. Letting your breath anchor you in the present moment. Taking refuge in the breath. Giving yourself permission as much as possible to let go of all thinking and trying to make meaning of your life. Your life is already meaningful. You are the meaning. As much as possible, let go of all doing. Breathing space into the mind. Giving your thoughts lots of room, beginning to take a step back from them. Instead of getting caught up in them and their drama, their urgency, their shenpa, their stickiness. Every time you found yourself caught up in thought or an emotion, inhale deeply, and as you exhale, visualize letting it go, creating space around it. Stepping back, beginning to see the thought against the background of awareness, that field of awareness that sees without words. Seeing the words being generated by the brain as your intention holds you in awareness, thinking. Allowing the body to soften. Widening the lens of awareness to include both the body and the thoughts. Perhaps noticing that when you get lost in the thoughts, the body constricts. Directly seeing that reality instead of thinking it or knowing it intellectually, but a direct witness of the expansion and contraction of energy in the body related to the thoughts you think. Shifting the sense of I from the thoughts and the emotions in the body to the witness. And seeing how they unfold without your permission. Ghosts in the machine. Sound and fury signifying nothing. Feel your body rooted in the earth. Anchoring your awareness in this present moment. From this perspective of safety, reassuring yourself that in this moment I'm safe, I'm protected. Enter a little more deeply into the voices as they manifest. Noticing what tugs at you, what pulls you off balance. So that rather than being able to simply sit here with presence in the present, you're being tugged off balance into the past or into the future, where you have no power. Notice how these energies turn life from being something easy, sukha, into a struggle, dukkha. Suddenly life is hard, difficult, clumsy, confused, strained instead of graceful, spontaneous, joyful. Trace these energies back. See how they're rooted in pronouncements of how life should be, how you should be, how other people should be. They could be directed at you from other people, comments that people made that you let get under your skin. Pressure to have to prove yourself right, others wrong. And instead of just getting lost in these energies, step back, witness them clearly, give them space to unfold. Notice how they're compelling, how they each want their way, sometimes opposite things. Notice how controlling they are, how they're never satisfied. As you witness them, know that this is the prison you live in. It's not external. It's internal sensations being generated by your body, by the fear part of your body, trying to protect you. But in keeping you safe, keeps you in bondage, exhausts you, leaves you feeling inadequate. Feel the part of you associated with the witness that wants to live fully, wants to live without constraint. That wants to love fully and explore the world. And then feel how each of these voices, as they emerge, attaches to you, trips you up, pulls you off course into the past, into the future. Never satisfied. And this is where meditation becomes an act of liberation. If you want, you can visualize unhooking intentionally from each of these voices. As you inhale, imagine grasping that energy, pushing, it's constraining you, and as you exhale, create space between you and whatever it is that's compelling you. Releasing yourself from self-recrimination, from self-judgment, releasing yourself from anyone else's expectation of how you should be. Begin to feel your energy untangling as you give yourself permission to stop the self-betrayal, to claim your freedom. Leaving you here in the present moment in your truth. And as you create space around the expectation, dilute its pull, its capacity to manipulate you, feel the expanse of space around you. It may be disorienting, it may be a little vulnerable, it may even be painful. Let the energies that are being released soothe you, sending love to the child that you were, who was powerless against the onslaught of expectations from adult society, from the family. Forgiving yourself for the unconscious self-betrayals. As expectations emerge, unhooking from them, coming back to the present moment. And let this depth be enough as you open to the depth of who you are, rather than trying to be good, feeling depressed in the futility of living up to your expectations or others. Acknowledging the futility of plan A, and open to the spaciousness of who you truly are. And know that it's there even though your relationships and actions fall short. Continue to open as depth and space. In the midst of all your imperfections, you can open as love. Live as love, even though you're not fully received by those you love. Knowing that you can open as infinity, offer your deepest truth, even though your gifts may be refused by those you want to serve. You can live as love and openness, even though your daily life may seem tawdry in light of your heart's deepest shining. You're not here to transform the world and create love. You are love. You are openness. Live the truth of who you are, not the hell of who you should be. People writing. Do we have a second screen? People keep popping in now.
No.
All right. Questions, comments? Remember to
Bart.
unmute yourself.
Hey,
Matthew, what's up?
I really appreciate you coming up with this teaching today just for me.
I thought about you the whole day.
That was, I just can't, you ignored everybody else in the group and you made everything just for me.
Directly to you. Yeah, of
I
course.
really appreciate that.
You're welcome. I was glad to be appreciated and seen for what I did, Matthew. Okay. It's what we're all doing. We're either doing it consciously or unconsciously. And so we start out unconsciously dysfunctional. We think it's reality. Then we become aware of the fact that we're dysfunctional. We become aware of the self-betrayal. That's the tricky part, because then we start using the teachings as part of our self-hate. So we start hating on ourselves for self-hating, and you can see the paradox of that, okay? So gradually we become conscious of the dysfunction, then we start trying to become consciously functional, okay? And after a while with discipline, we become unconsciously functional. And the example I use is like lane drifting in your car. When you first started driving, it was all you could do to keep it in between the lines. But today you lane shift, you adjust your uh, speed, you brake when it's appropriate, all without any conscious effort, because that's now programmed in your brain. So one way of thinking about what we're doing is that we are, and this is a phrase from John Lilly, who wrote The Center of the Cyclone. He was the guy who was dropping acid and getting in sensory deprivation tanks and talking to dolphins. The Day of the Dolphin was about his life. And he called it reprogramming the human biocomputer. And I've always maintained that this is simply the receiver, the tuner. The energy out there is what we call God, all right? And we're only perceiving about 3% of those energies that are out there. But our computer has become flawed. It's become very constricted because of all the tinkering that was done by society. And so as we learn to unhook from those childhood desperation for safety, okay? So you look at what's the main thing you have to establish with the client before they can heal? A sense of safety. They have to trust that whatever is going on, that they're still going to be safe with you. That's what we're all looking for. And what we don't realize is we are the only ones who can create that sense of safety. So even with the safest therapist, safest spiritual teacher, I can continue to feel threatened if I believe my own messages. Does that make sense? I have to realize, and Ajna, can I use you as an example? Give me a nod. Where are you? She was on the screen. I guess she's gone. Okay, Ajna, so I'm going to assume I have permission. She used to call these voices in her head liar when she first started identifying them. And so she'd hear someone say, you really need to do this. And she'd go, liar. And it gave her permission to not listen to them, not engage them, not to take on that energy that they're trapping you with, okay? So that's part of the liberation, you know. There are a couple of things I love. It was Friedrich Nietzsche who said, Nietzsche said, you got to be a little get crazy to give birth to a dancing star, okay? But it's related to something that Nikos Kazantzakis, who wrote Zorba the Greek and Last Temptation of Christ, he said, you've got to be a little bit crazy or you never do cut the cord and be free, okay? You've got to cut the cord. When you were born, we cut the cord that connected you to your mother, okay? But the cords that connect you to your past, you have to cut. And it's an act of rebellion. And Camus, the rebel, that when you finally stand up and say no, you're not just saying no for all the times, for this time, you're saying no for all the times you said yes, but wanted to say no. And so a large part of meditation is saying no to everything that's not me, everything that's learned, and freeing myself to be that expansive spirit. Okay. Just making sense? Mm-hmm. So it's really simple. It goes back to this is hell, this is heaven. Anything that's collapsing you like this is learned behavior. No matter whether you feel you have to do it or whether it's just unconscious, it's still hell. This is the suffering. This is the way out.
Soften.
Soften,
Let go.
open. Yep, the singer said there's never any good reason to stay closed. Yeah, you're going to close, open, contract, yeah, but don't stay there. Don't get locked in the trap, the whirlpool of the samskara thing that's perpetuating itself in that amygdala adrenaline cycle of abuse and re-encryption. So every one of your actions has a consequence to your nervous system. You're either freeing yourself or you're keeping yourself in bondage. That's karma. There's no escape from that. You don't get to go, oh, well, I didn't mean to do it. Well, no, but they really did say that, and they shouldn't have said that, and life is this way, and life that. No, that's all inscribed. That's all going in, back into the compression system. That's the problem. It's not outside. That's it. Questions, comments?
And it's important not to hear, like you said before, it's important not to hear that as judgment. yeah, the fact that we're keeping ourselves in bondage. It's the truth, but a lot of it's subconscious, and when it becomes conscious,
Exactly.
then we use it to judge ourselves.
And it is so fundamental. Let go of the idea of blame. There's nobody to blame for the way you are. You'll
Yeah.
never hear me use that word about myself or anybody else. Lose it. It's our favorite word in our culture. If you haven't seen Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes, I think he says, "You in America, something goes wrong, and immediately they start saying, 'Who's to blame?'" Says in Japan, we go, "Fix what's broken," and then we figure out how to do it differently. You don't have to blame people. They don't, the unitary systems don't believe in causality. That's part of where I'm going to start doing some series on the Heart Sutra. And they believe that life emerges with an interactivity that is so complex that you can't identify a single source for what's happening right here. So if there's no single source for what's emerging, how could anything be to blame? Quit it. Quit it. Stop. I feel like Bob Newhart on Saturday Night Live playing the therapist. Well, stop it. Stop it.
I had sorry to dominate. Somebody else can jump in if they
Oh,
want.
they like being dominated.
I had a few days, like I don't know, 2 weeks ago, where it was there was an awareness. There was such a acute awareness that there's almost nothing that my mind and body generates that's not about my survival. There's not a thought. So when you see that, you start to feel a little bit upside. You start to feel,
Disoriented. A vertigo.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you start to realize there's not a single, and that's probably not, that's probably an extreme statement, but
No,
Yeah.
no,
not
that's
a
true.
single thought or feeling had that's not about my survival. And once I'm in survival mode, like then like it's very strange. It feels like you're in an alien body. It's very strange when you
Absolutely.
and it only lasted for like 3 days.
3 days. Oh my God. Oh,
Is that all?
And like, maybe one day by the grace of awareness and the Dharma that, in myself, maybe, that can happen again. I don't know.
Well, thank you for that, Matthew. So listen to what he said. When you're free, your brain is going to give a pushback. There's going to be a reaction against it. So you have no neural pathways for being free. So the brain is immediately going to go weird. When things feel weird, it's your brain saying, I don't have anything to attach this to. I can't, it is nonsense. The Native Americans that were here when Columbus landed couldn't see his ships because they made no sense to them. Okay. So all of this is nonsense from the perspective of the ego. Now, remember, we need to keep some touch with this body because this is what's enabling us to be aware of ourselves as the universe. So it does have a function, but it's very quick, Matthew, to come back and realize what's happening. This is my brain trying to process this new thing, getting comfortable with this new reality, and learn how to negotiate it. So that's great. Exactly the way the process happens. And that's the reason we run away from freedom, people. Eric Fromm wrote an entire book called The Escape from Freedom. And we see it. You take an animal that's been raised in captivity, you open the door to the cage and try to release it, and it won't go back into its natural habitat. It wants to stay in the cage. You're doing the same thing. And you're rationalizing doing it because you feel you have to. That's what everything in your head is telling you. Oh, it's not safe out there. No, that is your natural. No, 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 no. This is my natural. No, no, no. That's not your natural habitat. So we always have to get booted out into spaciousness, booted out into egolessness. Uh, hell no, we won't go. And that's the joke. You really need that sense of irony here. And to see that it's not tragic, it's not something horrible, it's funny. You mean I've been doing this to my Kafka's book, read his book, The Trial. Sitting outside a door, there's a guard there. He's been accused of a crime. He never has figured out what he did and been told he's guilty. And he's told to go wait by this door. And he spends his whole life there and he's about to die and says to the guard, what would have happened if I'd have gone through the door? The guard says, absolutely nothing. He says, I'm powerless to stop you. You could have left any time. And that's where we are. That's our situation. And that's either good news or bad news, depending on which side of the door you're on. Okay. Anybody else but who's not named Matthew?
We love you,
I
Matthew.
loved what you said about the internal prison.
Yeah.
And I was thinking how the years I've been practicing, I thought I've been practicing spirituality, but I was so squared in it. And I was so judgmental, of course, to myself and then consequently to others. And then it took the diagnosis of cancer to shift the whole thing, to really expand, to start expanding how in therapy, not just the diagnosis, therapy, a lot of therapy, to realize how cruel I was to myself, how harsh I was on myself, and that changed the whole perspective also on how I treat others and how and what I call spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. I appreciate that. So one thing that we have a problem with when we're shifting from religion to spirituality is that religion is shame-based. Okay? We go to religion to try and feel better about ourselves, but people used to say, I like coming to your church because I leave feeling better about myself. I go to other churches and I feel worse about myself than when I went in. And it's because it has that, there's something wrong with you that needs to be corrected is a fundamental aspect of the approach. And so that's why we're getting back to there's nothing wrong with you. There's a lot that you're doing that could be improved. So D.T. Suzuki said it right. He said, you're perfect exactly the way you are, and you could use a little improvement. She knows the quote. So, that's one of the kind of touchstones that I use, that yes, I have a flaw that if I improved, it would make my life easier, but that's not what's wrong with me. There's still nothing wrong with me. So your unitary teachers are going to tell you, let that stuff go. It will self-correct in time without you beating yourself up. So if you focus on the positive, we lost the capacity to motivate out of love. The only way we can teach is out of fear and out of shame. And we've lost the thing that, gee, I would love to be more open in this situation. Okay. Gee, I would love to be more skillful in the way I express myself when I get angry. Yeah.
Which is better than seeking, trying to
Than
make
making an
something
effort.
happen,
Right.
efforting too hard.
And it'll work. Okay, we're getting signals from the crowd that we need to close. Thank you all for coming. Again, we're going to be doing an entire class on undoing self-hate. Okay, and so if you're interested, let
Coming
us know.
soon.
It's coming soon. Book is Healing the Shame. No, name of the book.
Soul Without
It's
Shame.
Soul Without Shame. Byron Brown. Anybody on the screen named Byron? Raise your hand, Brad. Okay. All right, Omi, take us out.
You can unmute your devices. Take a deep breath in.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow, wow. Ooh,
Thanks, Bart. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
good to see you,
Perry.
Perry.
Good
Yeah.
to see you. It's good to be here. Good to see everybody.
Good.
Yeah.
Hope
Thank-
everyone has a lovely day.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
thank y'all.
Have a
I just
great
want-
week, everybody.
Yeah, y'all too. Just want to be obnoxious and say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
No, I know I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong on purpose, just
You're doing it wrong.
to irritate you.
I meant
All right. See y'all later. Love y'all.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
take care.